into the In the Money podcast, part 2 for Saturday, November 4th. Tom Leach, Jim Goodman will take a look at the last part of the Saturday Breeders' Cup card at Del Mar, the Mile, the Juvenile, the Turf, and the Classic that make up a late pick 4 in the last 4 legs of the Ultra Pick 6. So, Jim, start us off in the 1 mile turf race and big full field and World Approval. I think probably ends up going off as the favorite, but who are you going for?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes off as his favorite, but I don't think he's a prohibitive favorite here. I think I went with Ribchester, the 10-horse, multiple Grade 1 winner, ultra consistent. And what's key to the Euros to me here is that he has won on firm turf. So he's 6 for 15 lifetime with $3.5 million. He's Group 1 winner over fees, including at Chantilly on Art Day, and I think he's got a real shot in here. 7-2 is not a great morning line price, but you've got to put him in there. World Approval would be my second choice and possibly my first choice, depending on the wagering. He backed up his 4-star day win with a rout in the Grade 1 Woodbine Mile. That was an impressive race that you need to go back and watch if you haven't seen it. 2 for 2 at the distance. He's 10 for 23 lifetime. Johnny Velasquez took them out last time the Woodbine Mile, and he hadn't ridden him before. At least he doesn't show in the PPs, but he won for fun there and really looked good. So Dubois is a horse that intrigues me a little bit. A horse that comes out of the Shadwell turf, and we're always partial to horses that come out of Keeneland. This horse came from out of it there, and I didn't think anybody could run down Heart to Heart, and he did. Battle of Rocks was another horse in that race that I think has got a shot in here. So he beat 2 of the horses that I think have a chance to win this in his first North American. If he takes a step up from that buyer, he's going to be tough to handle. And then Battle of Rocks and Heart to Heart, I can use both of them in here, but they finished right together in Shadwell. I love Heart to Heart. I just don't see him out of the 2-hole. I think Midnight Storm's going to compromise him. I don't think he's going to get an easy lead like he needs. So I think he's going to sit up for a closer. So Ribchester, World Approval, so Dubois, I can make a case for all of them.
I'm going to go with a Euro here, but I'm going against Ribchester on the short turnaround. I'm going to use him on a pick 4, but I'm going to try the filly, Roly Poly. Not wild about the 12 post, but Group 1 European fillies have always done pretty well in this Breeders' Cup Mile. And the horse that you mentioned that won the Shadwell, Dubois, shows you, I mean, those were some of the best U.S. milers, and he handled them. So I'm going to think a Euro wins this, and I'm going to take Roly Poly, hopefully get a little bit of a price. And then World Approval, Zelzal, I think, is worth a look at a price, as is Home of the Brave, a couple of foreign horses. And then Balarox and Sudois, if you can go that deep, you could add those in a pick 4. I didn't in the write-up. I didn't go that deep to keep the ticket affordable, but I think this is a race that could give us a big price, and so Sudois and Balarox are worth considering depending on what your budget is. But I took Roly Poly in the mile that starts the late pick 4, but I actually went 5 deep with Ribchester and Zelzal and Home of the Brave and World Approval. In the 10th race, it's the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Might see the next Derby winner here. I'm going to go with a favorite. I would like to find a way to find a better price, but I just kept coming back to Bolt d'Or. I just think he's better right now. Just won so easily last time, and it looked like he loved the stretch out, and he's won twice at Del Mar. Free Drop Billy's trained well. I loved his race here at Keeneland, but on the numbers, I think he's just so far away from Bolt d'Oro right now that I couldn't pick him. I'm going to mention U.S. Navy Flag just out of respect for Aidan O'Brien, and this horse looks really good. Really, I don't know if he'll like the dirt, but I think he's a very high-class horse, and I just remember Johannesburg coming over and winning the 2-year-old race several years ago against a pretty good U.S. field. So I think that one's worth looking at. Good Magic is a maiden that I think I wouldn't pick to win, but I could certainly see hitting the board at a little bit of a price. And then Give Me a Minute for Dallas Stewart. How many times have we seen Dallas have a horse that blows up the tote board to run second in the Derby or the Preakness? This horse will be a huge price, and he gets Castellano, and he's out of a Turkoman mare, so the longer the better. And he ran okay in the Claiborne Breeders' Futurity, and if he improves off that and maybe get a little pace, maybe he can get in there and fill out a trifecta at a big price. But I'm going Bolt d'Oro to win the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. How about you?
Yeah, I like your horse. Give Me a Minute. That horse was touted at Keeneland off that hopeful narrow loss to Sporting Chance and Free Drop Billy. He didn't run as well as Free Drop Billy, but he went off at 5-1 in the Breeders' Security. So he had a real shot. If you can get that kind of price on him here, he's worth a play. Bolt d'Oro is my choice here, and I'm putting together a pick six ticket for a number of different players, and I kind of wanted to single him, but a couple of the people that are in the syndicate want to use Free Drop Billy as well, and I can't argue with that. I mean, Free Drop Billy won the Breeders' Security for fun, and he's going to need a hot pace up front, and he may get it with these horses. And if he does, Bolt d'Oro may be a little bit vulnerable in the stretch, but I can't see any chinks in his armor right now. So I'm going to go with Bolt d'Oro, the 11. But I think Free Drop Billy, I think that's a really solid exacta, because I think Free Drop Billy is going to be running at the end. Friends Fire and Good Magic were right together in Champaign. I'm like you. Some people may overlook Good Magic. He's a maiden, but he could have won the Champaign. I mean, he got beat by half length by Friends Fire just at the wire. So, but I could use both those in trifectas. And if you like Friends Fire, you got to like Free Drop Billy, because he beat him in the hopeful, and then came back and won the Breeders' Security. Those four of my top ones, Bolt d'Oro and Free Drop Billy, are steps above, I think, in class.
Let's go to the 11th race, the Breeders' Cup Turf at 1.5 miles. Got the defending champ here in Highland Reel. Where are you going?
Well, I want to go to Euros here, but I really like Beach Patrol. I think Beach Patrol has gotten so much better since Rosario picked up the mount, and I love Florent Giroux, but something about Rosario and this horse have clicked. And he won the Arlington Million and the Turf Classic. Gets the last off of short layoffs. He's got a little rest going into this one, and I think his peak race is right now. He's going to need to beat Highland Reel and Ulysses, and even Decorated Knight. Those are the three top horses I'd use from the Euro contingent. Highland Reel and Ulysses, I would flip a coin as to which one of those I like better. I'm going to put both of them in pick fours, and I'm going to use both of them below Beach Patrol in tries. You can also make a case for Decorated Knight. I mean, he's run right with Ulysses over there. Ulysses beat him a couple times, and Highland Reel beat him once. But these horses seem to flip their form sometimes when they come over here, so I would not throw him out. Bullard's Alley is the one that I tossed simply because that buyer figure last time out in the Canadian International was so much better than what he'd ever run. I can't imagine him putting two like that back-to-back, but if he does, he's going to be tough. And Fanciful Angel for Chad Brown, you always got to use his horses. I think Beach Patrol's better than he is. So Beach Patrol's my pick here. The other one I would throw in Hunt, just because he likes Del Mar with 2 wins at Del Mar out of 6 races. I would throw him in as well. I think it's a wide open race here, though, and I think the Euros have all the cards in numbers, but I think Beach Patrol, I just have a feeling he's going to nail him at the wire.
I ended up going to Ulysses. Sir Michael Stout's so good in this race, and I think there's a little more speed to go with Highland Reel than there was last year, and I think that might make him a little bit vulnerable. So Ulysses came over last year as a 3-year-old, and I've read where the connections weren't that confident in his chances last year. They wanted to put him through it so that they could bring him back and have a much better shot this year. And watched a little bit of the training, and in his second day, boy, he looks so good on the track. So I'm going to take Ulysses here. Decorated Knight, Highland Reel are definite must-uses. I'm going to add a couple of price horses. Talismanic, the 1 out of simply respect for Andre Fabre, and then the 9 Seventh Heaven, which is the other Aidan O'Brien, stablemate to Highland Reel. This is a filly who ran in the Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Turf last year, and really likes the firm ground, and I think she'll relish the extra distance. And he won here at Keeneland with Found in the against the boys in 2015. So at a big price, I'm going to have Seventh Heaven on my tickets as well. But Ulysses is my win pick. And in the Classic, I wanted to go against Gunrunner because he's 0 for 3 at 1.25 miles, but then I got to looking. And this horse, I think, had a breakthrough in the Clark Handicap last year and moved to a higher level and has stayed there and improved. And if that's the case, then I think you can ignore the Derby and the Travers from his 3-year-old year. I think he's a much different horse now. So the 1 mile and a quarter race I would judge him on was the one in Dubai back in March. And other than Arrogate, he was a runaway winner. So he ran a winning race at a mile and a quarter. Arrogate freaked that day. And if it was any place other than Del Mar, I'd take Arrogate to beat him again. But I think the only reason you got 11-1 on Arrogate in the Travers last year is because he didn't like Del Mar and he ran a so-so race in the prep for the Travers. And I'm just going to take a stand. He may be so good that he can get it done, even though he doesn't like the track, but I'm convinced he doesn't like it. He may, he ran okay in the Pacific Classic, better than okay, really. So he could win it on class, but I'm going to take against him just because of where it is. So I'm going to pick Gunrunner. Got to use Arrogate, of course, and I could live with those two. Collected, I would look at just off the way he's improved this year. West Coast, I tried to talk myself into a little bit, but I'm just not as high on this group of 3-year-olds as a group. The 2 O'Brien horses, War Decree intrigues me a little bit. I think he's got a pedigree to like dirt and a mile and a quarter, and gets a nice post draw down on the inside. And if he can finish up and could get third at a big price, he might sweeten the trifecta. I don't really see him winning it, but Gunrunner for me in the Classic. How about you?
I really like Gunrunner, and I was ready to go ahead and single him everything. And I've looked at the race, and I think he's better than Arrogate right now. But that race that Arrogate ran, the Pacific Classic, Collected beat him, but I think you can toss the San Diego handicap. I mean, Baffert was talking about how good he was. He didn't really need to work him that hard. He stayed at Santa Anita the whole time and didn't work at Del Mar. He came back there and just ran an absolute clunker. And horses do that. But if you look at the Pacific Classic, he came back and ran well enough to win. Collected just ran a little bit better that day. So I don't think it's the fact that he hates Del Mar. He ran a 114 buyer in that race. And Baffert, I've overlooked him before in classic on classic days, and he always gets them ready. So I expect Arrogate and Gunrunner to give us a hell of a stretch run, if you excuse my expressions. But I also think West Coast is getting so much better right now, and he's the Pennsylvania Derby, the Travers, the Los Al Derby. The last 4 races, he's been very impressive. So I don't know that I can just stick with Arrogate and Gunrunner. If you made me pick a winner, I'm going to pick Gunrunner, but it's probably because I like him better. I like the connections, and I think he has been the best horse this year so far. But I'm going to give you a long shot in here. Do not completely overlook Mubtahish. He's in Baffert's stable now, and he ran the Dubai World Cup and finished 4th. Got beat by Arrogate and Gunrunner and Neolithic, but then he came back. And in the Austin against Santa Anita at a mile and 1/8, won by a length and a half, and was very impressive. And nobody's going to look at Mubtahish. You're looking at, okay, I'm going to bet Arrogate, I'm going to bet West Coast. I think he's got a real shot in here. So that's my long shot. I'm not sure how I'm going to play it, but I'm going to put him in the exactas and tries, and I'm going to put him in some pick 4s, just because the incredible price you will get on anybody other than Arrogate or Gunrunner makes it worth putting somebody else in your pick 4.
Best of luck with your wagers on the Breeders' Cup Saturday card. Remember, if you're listening to this podcast, we did do one on the first 5 races for Saturday as well, so you can check that one out. For Jim Goodman, I'm Tom Leach for the In the Money podcast at KeenelandSelect.com.